I just opened a box. It was too big to put up here. It had 4 of these in it. This apparently is 2. I'll unwrap them here. Yep, they're taped up. Pull them out. And these are certainly littler than I thought. I believe these are this. So indeed it is a PL18. This piece of paper comes, I downloaded from this on the internet. They have a lot of these server power supplies that they've summarized. For example, how to make them operate and given pinouts of the connector. I've had this box for maybe a year, so I don't know if this information is valid. It's 2 of these server power supplies for $25. I bought it from Sound Surplus. Free shipping. I must have got 2 lots for $50. $12.50 buys one of these. I do intend to open them up because they're rated 12 volts at 62.5 amps. A lot of YouTube producers have done videos on this, as well as any number of server power supplies. The videos are a good guideline, but they're not interchangeable. You need to find a video for your supply, because they involve making changes to little tiny components on the circuit board. When I ordered these, and I didn't realize how small they really were in comparison to other server power supplies, I ordered this from Parallel Miner. That refers to a bit mining supply company. Bitminer/Centrix calls these breakout boards. Got a whole bunch of connectors and wires. Now, supposedly, these boards, and there's 2 kinds here. This kind, set one of them aside, and this kind. The difference is, well, I don't know. I guess the voltmeter. They each have a start button. I don't know if this is a stop button as well. I don't think so. This one's got a couple of LEDs. So I think this is the more expensive board at $8 a piece. And this would be the cheaper one at $6 a piece. You can't even look at the parts for that, much less buy them. Now, I assumed I was going to use these, so I bought mating connectors. I bought a whole bunch of connectors. I mean, anyway, all these connectors, however many, they say I bought 8, but I can see 8 right there. were $22.80. Oh, I see, they're double-ended. So maybe I did buy 8 of them, and there's 16 of them here. I intend, I guess, to cut them in half because I don't have any equipment that would use this connector. So I probably bought enough of them to completely populate 2 of these boards. I don't know. So there it is plugged in. It makes it longer. And it doesn't quite line up this way either. I'm going to guess this LED means it's in standby. I'll press the start button. The green light comes on, 12.5 volts. Bench meter reads a little bit lower, 12.4, but that's okay. I have some amateur radio equipment that I'd like to power up, and that means I need to get, instead of 12.5 volts, optimum would be 13.8 volts. I've removed 4 screws, and it looks like it's going to open up. I'm not going to modify this today. I'm going to let it set unpowered for a while. There are some other options or alternatives to buying these breakout boards. The top side of the PCB, which is here, has 2 big connectors, and they are ground and 12 volts. There's plenty of room there to put, this is not a double-sided board. The bottom looks just like the top, but the big ones are identical. They can be drilled through, and you can put binding posts, or you could use ring terminals and come off with wire to suit. Now, the ones on top at this end, because it's like this, the recommendation of this person is that you put a 22K resistor on the short terminal, and then this is a switch. So grounding pin 33, because that's ground, enables the power supply to run. I believe removing the ground will put it back in the standby mode. And here's a very big warning. In other words, this common is connected to the metal case. So bear in mind, this is not a floating power supply. I said I was going to convert this hstns-PD18 power supply to 13.8 volts. So I did some searching on the web, specifically YouTube, and I came up with an article here, convert to 13.8, where this gentleman shows 2 potentiometers. And he connects them together with a 1.8K resistor. This is another source, You can see he's talking about the PL18. 2 potentiometers, and they're connected together with a 1.8K resistor. So these two are essentially the same modifications by 2 different people. Then I found this link where there are 3 potentiometers in a row, and he uses a 23.2K resistor, and then a second one where he does the same thing with a 20K resistor. Peel back this piece of paper. You can see this little chip here matches this chip here. The date's different, but that's okay. So it looks like we're going to make this mod. Look at the mod, you see it's a 13 there, right there, and we're the third one down from the 13, which means our resistor will be attached here, and the other end of the resistor will be attached here. In order to make sure I'm reading this correctly, most of these modifications involve connecting something to ground, and ground is the chassis, and it's also, ground is also, not this one, this one. This one. So I'm going to verify that this pin actually is ground. See how that sounded for a while and then quit? While this one, if you don't rest on this long enough for the ground to go away, it's well, when you rest long enough on this one, it started off with a ground, but the ground is gone now. It's a charging of a capacitor. It gives you a false indication. This one now, just to give you some idea of the size of this power supply, there's my thumb. These are little tiny things. Here's the modification completed. It's a 20K resistor. Damn Chinese heat shrink melted when I brought it up to soldering temperature. I've actually got the power supply plugged into this board. Bench meters connected across the positive and negative output terminals. I'm going to plug it in now. And there was no smoke. So far, so good. Well, I'm already up to 13.52 volts. I'm going to adjust this potentiometer. 13.6, 13.77, 13.86, 13.85. This is working really well. 13.7. 13.82. I'd say that modification works well. 1382. The supply on this little board says 14.0, but my Hewlett-Packard bench meter says 13.82. My Chinese bench meter says 13.82. So I would say the modification's done and it works.